Yeah, so today we're going through a CRO workshop. It's going to be super interactive. And so we're going to have a QR code up here that you'll be able to scan in and you'll be able to scan in, and it's just going to take you to your browser, and you'll have quizzes and questions as we go throughout it. This will help us kind of gauge where everybody's at from a CRO standpoint in terms of experience. We'll have some good questions to understand what people are actually doing from the CRO side of things. And then there will be some quizzes to kind of get a feel for how everybody's listening. And then there will be a winner at the end, I guess. Could we get this TV here to have the slides? Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Cool. So we'll get started here with a few questions.
Did you all scan the QR code? Or you can... All right. Excellent. I'll just give a few more seconds to everyone. You can join at any time by just going to menti.com and use the code that is at the top. So we have 76, 78, 80 players. All right. A few more seconds. It's still going up. 90. Can we get to 100? Okay, let's go.
So the faster you answer, the more points you're going to get. We're going to start with a simple one. What does CRO stand for? Got 20 seconds. And if you didn't get in, there'll be a QR code on the bottom left so you can scan in whenever.
You were expecting much.
Capitalization doesn't matter. Okay. Well, I mean, some of you are right, Chief Revenue Officer, that is true. But in the context of this, it is conversion rate optimization. Now, how proficient would you say you are in CRO? So you can see as we get some input here, it'll start to kind of populate and we'll get a feel for where everybody's at.
I hope everybody's a beginner.
Cool. So not a lot of experts, good mix of beginners, some knowledge, some hands-on experience. Now, in one word, what is your biggest struggle with CRO? Could be research, it could be ideation, it could be analytics.
We gave you a few hints on the question. That's interesting. So testing, analytics, tools, ideation. Analytics is the number one.
Pretty clear. Testing and analytics seem like they're 1A and 1B. Cool. So are you actively doing CRO? Are you doing it in-house? Are you doing it with an agency? Are you not doing CRO? Preferably brands filling this one out, not agencies or tech. Cool. So either in-house or no seem to be both at about 40%. And then this one's ranking. So how are you getting your CRO ideas? Are they coming from a competitor? Are they coming from data-backed problems, from your CEO, from best practices or an audit, or maybe it's ChatGPT?
From Anthony's video on LinkedIn.
All right.
the CEO.
I think you guys are all lying. CEO's probably much higher. We just have a bunch of CEOs in here.
Yeah.
So, best practices, checklists, competitors, data-backed problems. We're going to try to get to a place here with number 3 that you've got a better feel for actually getting data-backed problems and using those to really ideate, ultimately identify problems, and get some solutions.
I see some of you taking pictures. We will make the results of these polls available to everyone.
Cool. This is the last question before we head into CRO 101. Just curious to see, what testing platform are you using? And I highlighted the top 3 most common ones we see on Shopify. Obviously, there's clearly a lot of other that we probably could have dropped in here.
We would love to hear about other, if you can name a few. Okay.
That's true. That's right. If there's 40% that aren't doing CRO, they're probably not A/B testing, so decent percentage there. Cool. That is the end of our first round of questions here. We're going to hop into CRO 101. The goal here is that we're all kind of talking the same language, understanding the core process for CRO. And so Pep from CXL, he's very much a CRO legend, says that conversion optimization is all about getting people to do whatever you want them to do. And so oftentimes we have a tendency to box conversion rate into just converting users into purchasing. But the reality is it can be a variety of different things. It can be, trying to influence the user into purchasing more quantity, higher average order value, repeat purchases, subscriptions. It can also be from your marketing content to getting them to click through the site. That conversion there. Conversion optimization can stretch beyond just the purchase conversion. And so when we look at the process for CRO, we like to break it up into 3 clear steps. And so the first step here is quantitative research. The second step is qualitative research. And then the last step is empirically validate. So ultimately A/B testing. With quantitative research, we're identifying where the problems are. So in the case of an e-commerce store, you can flip ahead to the next slide, we're looking at the Intersite funnel report. And so within the Intersite funnel report, really what it is your conversion rate broken up into the 4 key behaviors. The biggest thing is conversion rate is really hard to measure performance by. You've got traffic splits, traffic quality, that's really fluctuating your conversion rate over time. You'll just see swings. It's hard to really measure and focus based off of that. It's not actionable. The Intersite funnel, which we're going to go into a little bit more later, really allows you to identify where you should focus efforts, where you're underperforming, ultimately where the problems potentially are. And then the second step here is that qualitative side. This is what helps you identify the problems and potential solutions. So where your ideation can happen, and you can get a lot of ideation from your customer research, that qualitative research. And so the first thing you can start with is a context-driven heuristic analysis where you're looking at your site experience based off of what you see in the data. So it could be that mobile users are landing on the site, but they're not getting to a product page. So they're struggling with product discovery. So then you can put yourself in the shoes of that user ultimately and go through the experience, try to understand what are potentially those problems that they're having in terms of navigating, trying to discover the product. Is there something in navigation? Is there something in search or on the collection pages? This heuristic analysis can help you identify those problems. The second thing here is collecting customer data, and that's with all different kinds of customer research. And so you've got surveys, review mining. You're really trying to understand why your customers buy and why they don't buy, and hearing it firsthand from voice of customer. So that's the qualitative side. And then after you've identified those problems and you have potential solutions, you want to validate that you've made an impact. Does this actually make a difference for our customer, right? And so we're trying to answer, is this a significant enough problem? And does the solution actually improve it? And by how much? And that's where A/B testing comes in. And so there's commonly a lot of misinterpretations or misdefinitions of CRO where everybody can kind of associate it directly with A/B testing. If you're A/B testing, you're doing CRO. The truth is, just because you're A/B testing doesn't mean you're following a CRO process, and you may be lacking the research side. And that's why the quantitative and qualitative research is super important. And then oftentimes we have a tendency to box CRO into just conversion rate, but it's so much more than just conversion rate, right? Like I said, it can be anything from your subscription rate to your repeat purchase rate to your lifetime value. All of those different metrics, you can follow the CRO process to ultimately influence the user or the customer to take that action. And then the second one here is there's no such thing as a good conversion rate. I get asked all the time, do we have a good conversion rate, or what's a good conversion rate for an apparel brand that has an average order value of $75? The truth is you probably have 96, 97, 98% of your users that aren't converting. So there's an opportunity for improvement. There's always going to be an opportunity to improve your conversion rate, whatever that metric is that you've identified as the conversion rate, whether that is the purchase conversion rate or that's lifetime value. There's always room for improvement and opportunities within whatever you're trying to influence. And so that's CRO 101. One of the things that we've shared with you, you can go to the next slide, is we have a report and slide deck for you. So there's an Intersite funnel report there. It's just plug and play. There's a couple other reports within that, conversion rate over time report. There's this customer canvas and question bank, which we're going to touch on a little bit more. But if you scan that QR code, you can access that. It'll take you to a Notion page that links out to a few different reports. And so now we're going to go through some more questions here. So in this next portion, we're going to talk to getting to the why behind why your customers buy. So I'm curious to know how many of you are actively surveying your customers?
A lot more than I expected.
Yeah.
That's great.
We can move over to the next one here. What type of surveys have you done? So there's 5 different here. This one is multiple choice, so you could select all 5. Okay, so a lot of post-purchase surveys.
What type of other surveys are you doing? If somebody selected other, yeah.
Okay, customer interviews, cool. That's awesome. When you guys say post-purchase surveys, do you mean attribution surveys, like how did you hear about us, or actually, asking questions trying to get to why a customer bought or why they didn't buy? Both? Okay. Cool. So on a scale of 1 to 5, how well do you know why your customer buys from you? This next section we're getting into is going to be getting to the why and kind of give you a framework from a survey perspective to go in and kind of paint a picture of who your customer is. All right, 3 out of 5 there. Not bad. And then this next question here is on a scale of 1 to 5, how well do you know why your customers don't buy? Okay, so a lot more people are falling in that 1 to 3 range than previously. Have any of you used the jobs to be done framework? We're going to talk through this a little bit. It's really helpful to understand why your customers are buying. So I'm curious to know if anybody's leveraging that. Okay, very few. So this will be new for a lot of people probably. And we have a quiz question for you guys around the jobs to be done framework. Let's see how close, since 98% of you have not used it. Let's see if you guys actually know what it is. Just a multiple choice question. What are the fundamental components that make up the jobs to be done framework? Okay, so most people got it wrong. Sweet. Well, we're going to go through that here, ultimately getting to the why behind why your customers buy. Here's our leaderboard so far.
So you get points for answering right and answering fast.
I don't know who Josh is, but raise your hand. You're leading so far. 2 questions in, I guess. All right. Cool. So getting to the why behind why your customers buy. And this is where the jobs to be done framework comes in. Ultimately, no matter what you sell, whether it's flip-flops or toothpaste or a hammer, your customers don't simply buy a product. They hire the product to do a job. And understanding that job is crucial to getting down to why your customers buy. That why behind why your customers buy, and the why not behind why they don't buy. And so when we're looking at this, we're really trying to get to what's those desired outcomes? What's most important to the customer? What are the friction points, the anxieties that are slowing them down from making that purchase to making that switch? What are the risks in switching to your product? And so one of the ways that we like to do this is through surveys throughout the customer journey. And so you could probably launch these surveys with your tech stack. If you're using like a post-purchase survey tool, which it sounds like a lot of you are, you could launch a survey like this, and then you could use Google Forms for the other two. And so we're touching on a few different parts in the customer journey to try to paint a picture of the customer and why they buy. And so the first one here is that post-purchase on the thank you page. We're getting them right after they've purchased. And I want to highlight that first question there. So how did you first become aware of product and what prompted you to buy it at this time? And so that second part of the question, what prompted you to buy it at this time, really points to the push of the current situation. So in the jobs to be done framework, there's something that's triggering them or prompting them to buy at this time. And so understanding that is super crucial because that can influence your marketing. And the great thing is this doesn't only affect e-commerce brands. This can be utilized by tech, your SaaS companies, agencies. Understanding this is super important to your messaging throughout not only your on-site experience, but also your marketing. And then the second one here is after the customer receives the product. So if you're like an apparel brand, you could send this like 7 to 10 days after they've received the product. Whatever is a window that you know they're probably going to have used the product by, and you can ask them questions that are more oriented towards that, and they'll give you a little bit different answers to help try to paint this picture. And so that first question there, can you describe the challenge you were facing when you decided to buy product? And so it's similar to that first question we asked on the post-purchase, but it's framed slightly different. And so we're going to get some more answers to why your customers are buying. What's pushing them? What's the challenge they're facing that has kind of pushed them to decide to buy the product? Now, obviously, some of this language you can change. It's pretty general. You want to humanize it, make it more your brand. But these are some ideas here. And then the last one is the pre-purchase. So you can throw this in a cart abandonment flow, a checkout abandonment flow, and get a different perspective. These are users that haven't purchased yet. Ideally, you would segment this to non-customers. And that third question there, were there any specific hesitations that prevented you from completing your purchase? And so with that, we can really try to understand some anxieties. Now, you're going to get probably logistical responses around pricing or shipping, returns, guarantees. Try to get a layer deeper than that, because oftentimes it's not just price that's holding back the user. There's something else that's not pushing them over the top to ultimately become a customer. And so that is the 3 different surveys that you can use to gather data-backed knowledge and paint a picture of your customer. And so in the takeaway document that we showed earlier, there is a customer canvas. And so we use this internally at eNavi. There's a series of questions that you can answer to start to paint this picture of who your customer is. Also with that is a question bank. So it's got a list of a bunch of different questions that you can kind of plug in to your different surveys. You could use in customer interviews. If you're doing customer interviews, more power to you. That is the best way to gather voice of customer data. But this is a simple way that you can get it launched. It won't take a lot of your time. With these 3 different surveys in the customer journey, you can start to really paint that picture. So we've got some more questions for you guys. this next section here, we're going to talk through focusing your CRO efforts. We're going to do a live analysis and have an opportunity to kind of look at an experience and the data and try to understand from a quantitative side, where is the problem and where should we focus efforts? So averaging out there right around 3, 4. So we do have some impactful CRO efforts, but the majority would be kind of average. This one is, I want to try to understand, where are you spending your time? When we dive further in this section, we're really going to talk through the funnel. And so I want to know, where are you spending your time? Are you spending it on homepage navigation? Are you spending on the product page, custom landing pages? Is it site speed? Is it not a particular page, but you're putting a lot of your efforts towards that?
Can you raise your hand if you're using Shopify? Thank you.
Cool. So vast majority are product page, homepage, custom landing pages. Cool. How much do you agree with the following? My company makes decisions based on data over opinions. The reason I ask this is because we're going to get super nerdy into some data here to really help focus your CRO efforts. So averaged out there about 7 out of 10. So identifying where to focus. So when it comes to focusing effort with the Intersite funnel analysis, really, like I talked about this before, we break up the funnel into 4 key behaviors. So you have landing to product view to add to cart to checkout, and checkout to purchase. We measure these conversions independently, so it's not a closed funnel, it's an open funnel. And then we benchmark these against other e-commerce stores. So at eNavi, we have a pretty large data set, a few hundred stores. It allows us to set some target ranges of where you should sit for each of these. And then ultimately what this allows you to do is it allows you to focus. You don't just pat yourself on the back, hey, we're doing great here. It's more of, this is the issue, this is where we need to focus our efforts and spend time working to improve this particular metric. And so when we hop over here to the next slide, we can see the 4 Intersite funnel metrics. And so this is the actual report that we share with you guys, where you can just plug in your GA4 property and get access to this data. We can see here that landing to product view is at 51.47%. That means 51.47% of the users that land on the site are viewing a product, and that's 2.9% above the target baseline. The target baseline here is 50 to 70% of users are viewing a product. That's where we'd like to see that at. The next thing we like to do is segment this by device, by channel, by landing page, by country. This allows us to gather context, and we can go a layer deeper to really understand why a particular metric is performing in a certain way. And this will help with your heuristic analysis, where you can put your shoes in that user and you can say, okay, mobile users are landing on the home page, but they're not getting to a product page, right? And you can work your way through that experience. You can have some more context to understand, where are those mobile users coming from? Why are they potentially behaving in this way? So we've got a few questions around this before we dive into a live analysis.
All right, let's go. Is the Intersite funnel an open or closed funnel?
All right, some of you were listening. Good job.
Is Josh still at the top? We lost a few players.
If you do know, what is your store's metric on fire? So if you did download that report and you plugged it in, you could see it there. Or if you just know based off the data, where is your store underperforming? All right, looks like clearly product view to add to cart. Then there is landing to product view and add to cart to checkout. So this last quiz question here is, what percentage of stores struggle with product discovery? This would be landing to product view. And this is based off of our internal data set at eNavi. This is, I'm not going to say anymore because I'll give it away. 70% of stores last year through our data set struggled. It was like 72% struggled with product discovery. See if Josh is still on top. No.
Yes. Yes.
Pulling away. All right, so we're going to do a live analysis here. Adrian, I'll let you introduce Victoria.
So today among the audience, we have the pleasure to have many brands, but one that Anthony and I are working with, La Roude, and we're welcoming Victoria on stage with us, who's representing the brand.
Thank you guys for having me.
And the idea is that we're gonna try to apply Anthony's framework and report to La Roude's website, and we're gonna do it together.
Yep. So we're gonna kind of talk through their current experience. We're gonna ask you guys what you think, what we call their metric on fire. So what portion in the Intersite funnel is underperforming just based off of looking at the experience. And then we're gonna ask Victoria based off of her hunches and the data she's seen. And then we're gonna actually look at the data. And so we look at the homepage here, pretty standard homepage. We've got a slider at the top there, featured products, pretty standard header. We can move over to navigation. There's quite a few different ways to shop by products, occasion, trending. There's also new, search. There's some suggestions there. You've got products and collections so they can kind of navigate accordingly. And then we've got your collection page. We've got a 2-column grid on mobile, 4-column on desktop. There's the swatches there in the product grid. There is a filter that I opened up too that you can kind of see. And then we've got the product page. The user can go between different colors there. It actually takes them to a new product page. The product details and the shipping information is in an accordion there. And so cart drawer is very simple, pretty minimal cart drawer. When I see this, that is exciting for me because oftentimes I see very cluttered cart drawers and oftentimes that can be an issue. And so this is a nice foundation to work with. There's definitely opportunity there. So we're going to ask the audience here first. There's going to be a question that'll come up here for where do you think the metric on fire is? Just based off of what you've seen here, where do you think it's at?
We should have asked you first, no?
I don't want to influence the audience. Because she probably...
They're going to influence you.
Okay, product view to add to cart. And you guys are right. Victoria, I guess, based off of what you've seen, where would you say, kind of in the data and your hunches, that some of the potential user issues are for the user?
I promise I wasn't influenced. I also think it's that.
Yeah. Cool. So let's dive into the data here. This is my first time looking at the data. So I have no idea what we're seeing. We're going to do a live analysis together. I had my team put together this, and we're going to go through this together, so it'll be fun. When we look at their Intersite funnel, this is globally, so no segmentation here. We can see landing to product view, that is above our target range. We can see product view to add to cart is substantially below our target range of 12 to 18%, looking at 23% below that. And then cart to checkout is 41% below the target range of 40 to 60%. So we can obviously see checkout to purchase, that's performing pretty fine. Most of the time with Shopify stores, we see that the checkout experience with Shopify is pretty good. The only time that there are issues is when there's like hidden fees, shipping costs that they didn't know were going to be there, or you've got a lot of international users. Those can oftentimes underperform and really drag this metric down. But it's pretty clear, product view to add to cart, cart to checkout, those are significantly underperforming. And so we're going to dive in here into the master list of segments. So a bunch of segments here. If we slide over to the next one, we'll break it down by device. And so we can see we've got the 4 key behaviors there. We have the percentage of users to understand how many users are coming from mobile, from desktop, and then how are those performing throughout the actual Intersite funnel. When we look at landing to product view, they're all over our target baseline. When we look at PDP to cart, there is definitely some underperformance there. A little bit of a difference between mobile and desktop. And so there's definitely a little bit discrepancy there. We try to strive for parity. Obviously, there is, depending on your price point, the actual product, some users may be more likely to purchase on desktop than on mobile. But when we're looking higher up the funnel, we want to make sure that there's kind of parity between mobile and desktop. So there is a little bit there. And then cart to checkout, there's definitely some discrepancy there between mobile and desktop. Now we can see landing page. So one of the interesting things here is when you look at landing to product view, the global metric, they were fine, right? They were on average, there's like 51%, which is over that 50% baseline. When we're looking at it by landing page, when a user lands on the home page or lands on a collection page, they're actually underperforming. Only 26% of users are getting to a product page. Only 27% of users that land on a collection page are getting to a product page. And both of those make up like 45% of the users. So definitely some opportunity there. And then we can see there is pretty significant underperformance of users that land on a product page. I would assume that is going to be paid social, being driven to a product page. Would you say that's accurate?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, and then the last thing we'll look at here is by channel. And we can see there that email, the more warmer audience is performing above that target baseline on PDP to cart. But we can see direct, organic, paid, those are all underperforming PDP to cart. And with 63% of landing to product view on paid, that would kind of align with the fact that a lot of paid users are being driven straight to the product page. So we're going to hop back to the experience. Based off of this data, try to think through what are some of the potential issues there with product view to add to cart, and then add to cart to checkout. Those are very much, sometimes can play hand in hand. When they're both underperforming, there's probably issues that addressed on the product page will also improve that cart to checkout rate too. So, Adrian, Victoria, is there anything that you guys see in the experience right now, potentially for the user, that could be question marks or could be causing friction or anxieties or not driving motivation and intent?
I go first? Yes. So on that specific example, we're looking at the pre-order item. So if I'm reading the red line above the add to cart, it's telling me that I'm not going to get the shoes right away. So that's potentially high friction point for actually adding the product to the cart.
Right. There's no date that's communicated there, right? So
it does say in the bottom, like expecting date mid-May, but there isn't an actual date.
Okay. Yeah, that could potentially be an issue there.
And another thing that comes to mind that we see often with that category of product, with shoes, is not seeing all the sizes at once, and maybe not finding what I want.
Right. So like moving to swatches instead of a drop down.
Correct.
Do you guys communicate shipping or return policy on the product page?
There is below the product details.
Yeah, we can see it on the mobile version here. Shipping options, maybe.
And then below there is, if you need to take a look at the return policy, click here.
Right.
But yeah, you need to open that to be able to see it.
Right. So that could be something where communicating that shipping information, the returns information, some basic like trust or safety blocks below the add to cart button could be really helpful for those users, especially the ones that are coming from paid social. So they know what is the shipping policy, what is the return policy. When it's buried in an accordion like that, it's less likely that it's actually going to get interacted with. A lot of times that content never gets seen. And so that could definitely be a point of friction for the user.
I don't know if maybe as they are scrolling down, the add to cart button is left behind. So maybe if it was something that was stuck.
Sticky.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you look at like your customer support, your chat logs, is there anything in particular that customers are calling out in terms of questions about sizing or color or anything like that? That's kind of a point of friction potentially.
Color, not necessarily. Sizing sometimes, but we are most of the times true to size.
Right.
But this pre-order issue is very frequently asked.
Is there a lot of products that have this pre-order?
Currently, no, but especially because with shoes, we have like so many different sizes. Sometimes like one size is sold out and then we produce more and then only that size is in pre-order. So then it can get confusing because here, this is a bestseller. So it got sold out in many sizes. So the message is even when you're in size 5, but some of the times you get excited and then when you click on your size, then you see that. But yeah, I think currently we only have 5 that are full sizes in pre-order, but there's always like one or another that have a couple of sizes as they sell out.
Right. Do you have any pictures of it actually on model or is it all just studio shots?
The last shot is on model, but you can just see it on the foot and there's nothing on the legs. So one of the things we also receive as a call out is that they like to see it styled. So
right.
Especially buying shoes, sometimes you can't imagine with which outfit to wear. So yeah, even when we the 4th slide is on foot, but I feel like sometimes the customer miss having it styled with different outfit options.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm just saying one last thing on mobile. We're seeing 0 reviews. We tend to recommend to hide the reviews if you don't have a certain number of reviews or if you're below a certain score, because it can have an adverse effect if you're showing 0 reviews.
And there's no.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you can do this kind of heuristic analysis like we've done here, but you pair this with that qualitative side where you're getting to the why, interviewing customers, launching surveys. That can really help you identify more problems, more solutions, ideate faster, and pair that with this is really going to help you identify what are those problems that are causing users to get to a product page, but then ultimately not add to cart.
All right. Thank you so much, Victoria.
Thank you. Should I bring this? You can bring it out.
So for the next section, we're going to be talking website speed, page load times, and how much they influence conversion rate. First, a few questions. How are you measuring site speed? What are you using? GTmetrix.
Metric. Yeah.
How often are you measuring site speed? So most of you are checking it very frequently, daily, weekly, or monthly. What is considered a good web page loading time? All right, most of you got it right. I think Josh is crushing it.
Josh is back on top.
All right. So the idea for this section is to give you a refresher on website speed and core web vitals, to show you a tool that is extremely useful and that apparently nobody is using in the room, and to give you a few actionable tips to help you improve your website speed. So maybe for one more second, are you all familiar with Core Web Vitals and Web Vitals in general? So this is an initiative from Google which aims at giving users the best experience possible on the web, and it's giving them a set of metrics to focus on, which are the Core Web Vitals. And these metrics are how fast the website is, how interactive it is, and how stable it is, basically. Core Web Vitals are impacting SEO, so it's extremely important because it's impacting three things: SEO, paid marketing, and your on-site KPIs. SEO, how? It's a direct ranking factor in the Google algorithm. So when Google is deciding on how a page should rank for a keyword, it's looking at a set number of signals, one of them being the Core Web Vitals. And secondly, another of these signals is the page experience, and the page experience is defined by a number of signals, one of them being the Core Web Vitals. So again, impacting your ranking. In the same manner, it's impacting paid marketing, as Core Web Vitals are influencing your quality score. Higher quality score means lower CPC and better ad positioning. And this leads to the algorithm from the search engine to optimize faster and better, and most likely lead to a better return on your ad spend. And finally, the core of the topic today, the website speed and Core Web Vitals are impacting your on-site KPIs. Faster website, lower bounce rate, higher conversion rate. I'm going pretty fast here, but you should have some link and details in the presentation. Many studies have been done over the years, always showing that. One of the latest one by Deloitte showing that even a small increase, 0.1 second, can have a significant increase. And the study has been done on a wide variety of brands, 37 brands across different industries, different geographies, and the results are always the same. All metrics are improved. More page views, higher AOV, and higher conversion rate. So all of you are using, I believe, Lighthouse and PageSpeed Insights, which is a tool to measure speed in the lab, meaning that it's a simulated load of your website, and the tool is looking at many different metrics and giving you a score. That's great, but that's just a simulation. This is just a simulation of how your website is rendering. There is another tool available, which is called the Chrome User Experience Dashboard, which is part of the Web Vitals. It's a data set from Google accumulating real data from users using Chrome on mobile and on desktop on all the time they visit your website. So it's hundreds of thousands of data points, and you can pull the data for your website and look at how your website is actually performing in the field. I pulled the numbers for Laroude, and so on the left, that's the first dashboard you'll see, which is giving you the 3 metrics composing the core web vitals, so LCP, INP, and CLS. And you can see that that website for each of them has 75% or more of the users that are in the green. And the recommendation from Google is that you have at least 75% of your users that are having a good experience. And the next few dashboards in that report, I'm just showing the next one, are these three metrics over time. What happened in February and March? We did two things. We looked at all the apps they had, and we removed all the ones that were not actively used. We looked at all the scripts, marketing scripts that they had on their website, and we removed the ones that are not used, and we moved the ones that are used either to GTM or to server-side. And finally, we upgraded their theme to a theme Shopify 2.0, which helped them achieve for the first time in over a year 75% or more good user experience. In a nutshell, what you should try to do to improve your speed and your core web vitals, you should check the speed frequently. You should check it in the lab and in the field using free tools that are out there. You should optimize your content. It sounds stupid, but this is one of the things that has the most impact on your website speed is how optimized your images, how big they are. And then you should review and remove unused apps and scripts. And you should do that frequently. You should have a spreadsheet where you list all your scripts and you revise that monthly. And and I covered point C and D. Last few questions and we're done. Just want to make sure you were paying attention because I spoke very fast. What are the metrics that make up core web vitals today? If you got that, you were good because I went really fast. And last question. What can core web vitals affect? Conversion rate, bounce rate, campaign ROAS, SEO. And Josh is staying on the top. One more. What can you do to improve site speed on your own without developers? Good job, Josh.